Soon-to-be presidential candidate Lindsey Graham is ready to deal with Iran if he ever makes it into the White House. In fact, he has received training in dealing with Iran, and he received it in a pool hall. Let's watch.
I grew up in central South Carolina, a small town near Clemson University. It was a textile town. My family owned a restaurant, a pool room, and a liquor store. And everything I know about the Iranians, I learned in the pool room. I ran the pool room when I was a kid, and I met a lot of liars, and I know the Iranians are lying.
I love that you can. Is there any other country where you can just be like, that whole country, liars on their face? I learned about it when I was a kid, and I haven't learned anything else since then.
He used a great scientific method to figure out that Iranians are liars. Yeah. I mean, it's incredible. His anecdotal evidence means nothing.
I'm sorry that some Iranian guy, like, slept with your girlfriend. Like, that doesn't mean that you can't trust them to abide by an international treaty. Oh, that's not crazy.
Okay, so at first I thought he was referring to the Iranians that used to come by his play pool in South Carolina. I was like, really? There were a lot of Iranians playing pool or maybe pocket pool. I don't know what it's with Lindsey Graham, but
oh my God,
this is going off the rails.
If this was the only thing that Lindsey Graham had said, I would actually give a surprising pass here and say, look, I think he's referring to the Iranian regime, not necessarily to all Iranians, except that he's recently said that that everything that starts with al in the Middle East is the real problem.
A-L, he said?
A-L.
That means the.
That means the in Arabic.
That's every single thing starts with al.
That's right. So, except, of course, things that are in Israel. So, and he said that to a pro-Israeli group. So
to AIPAC specifically.
Right. So, if within the context you go, oh, I get it. This guy could easily be a racist, right? And I know. I'm saying this like it's big news. A Republican senator from South Carolina might be a racist, right? So the other thing is this projection, right? All these guys, the Republicans, all they ever do is lie. So he's like, okay, I know what happens in negotiations. You guys are lying. I figured it out. And I just wish that it was a little bit more sophisticated than this, right? As you hear him out, and we've got the next video here, it doesn't really get any better. It's just, oh, you guys are liars, my pants on fire, I know you guys.
When you watch it a few times, it seems clear that he's not really being racist. He's saying that he learned what a liar is like, and so now he can detect it when other people go to Iran and have secret dealings with Iran about a possible nuclear treaty. He can detect it somehow. But it is interesting that to be a serious presidential candidate on the Republican side, you have to, at the very least, act like a racist, even if not actually being one. But as Jenk said, we do have a second part to that interview, so let's watch that.
And there can be no deal with Iran that doesn't require any time, anywhere inspections of their nuclear facilities, including their military facilities. The Iranians cheat and they lie. They're a radical regime. They want a master religion for the world. The Nazis wanted a master race.
Just throw it in there.
But that last line perfectly summarizes why he's doing this and why he's saying what he's saying. He's pandering to AIPAC, which he just gave a speech to, and he's doing what most Republican politicians want to do. They want to pander to Israel, right? They want to make it seem like, hey, you know what? We got Israel's back no matter what. That's what this is really about. It's not about Arabs. It's not about, oh, Iran is an imminent threat to the U.S. or Israel. It's about pandering to Israelis. It's that simple.
Well, look, it's also the defense contractors here in the U.S. who want more and more war, and so his answer is, by definition, you cannot trust an Iranian. So I would never trust any peace treaty that Obama or anybody made with the Iranians. So we have no other choice. We must go to war because they're all bad people. Now, they have bad intent. Now, look, as I saw the last part of this, that's part of my problem with the New Atheists, right? Is that they support that kind of ideology. You know, oh, they're the master, there used to be, like this straight out of the New Atheist talking points, right? Oh, the Nazis used to talk about a master race, and Islam talks about a master religion. I got bad news for you guys. All the religions think they're the master religion. There's no religion who thinks, hey, I probably come in third or fourth. I got put in the Mormons above me, obviously, the Amish, and then us, right?
Buddhists typically seem pretty humble.
Right. So this whole idea that Islam views itself as the master religion, I say, of course, all the religions do. What do you think about the Christians? And then, of course, we had George Bush, who said that he wanted to invade Iraq because Gog and Magog were going to come out of Iraq, right? And all these biblical references and Christian ideology to back up his wars, right? So when I see this guy saying, no, they're all liars and cheats, and all they care about is religion, I see a lot of projection, and I see a guy who is desperate to go to war. He thinks war is the only answer. And yes, the pandering to AIPAC, et cetera, which is not all Israelis, but right-wing Israelis, right?
Yes.
It's not pandering to J Street, who was fundamentally opposed to him, right? You know where he's coming from.
Yeah, I'm glad that you specifically mentioned George Bush there, because that did seem like he was doing his best to do a George W, I should say, impersonation there. And it's last week we talked about they had the Lincoln Day fundraising thing that all the Republicans have to go to if they're running for the presidency. And so we had Lindsey Graham and we had Rick Santorum and Scott Walker, and all three of them were competing with each other to say the craziest things about how they would deal with Iraq and Iran, whether they would send in more bombers, as if we're not already doing that, or ground troops, or sort of hinting around the edges of weapons of mass destruction. And I'm worried about it because I feel like the safe period we had after, or I should say during the latter end of the Iraq War, where America was weary of the war, they didn't want to go into Syria immediately, they didn't want to go into Libya, like that sort of thing. I feel like that is going to wear off if it's not already worn off. And if we allow someone like a Lindsey Graham or a Rick Santorum or a Scott Walker or whoever, it could be a Jeb Bush, he's surrounded himself by the same neocons as his brother did, then maybe they'll have a period a year in or 4 years or 6 years in where they can send us into another disastrous Middle East war. And that's my worry. And I think about it every time I see an idiot like that speak.
So let me give two more pieces of context here. One, you have to remember that not everybody lives in our context. So the Iranians also think we're liars. And they got decent reason to think that. For example, when we deposed their democratically elected leader back in the 1950s, and we installed someone who would give us the oil and at cheap prices, right? So that's part of the reason we had the revolution in Iran in the first place. We started this mess, right? And we often violate our own treaties. And in fact, we just had the Senate say, hey, if you do a peace deal with us, we won't honor it. So they have a lot of ammunition to say, no, you guys are liars. See, the people who are opposed to peace will always try to set us against one another and say the other side cannot be trusted. It's the oldest trick in the book. Now, these guys, all the Republicans running, would love to talk about Reagan. But the reality is Reagan made peace deals with the evil empire. I mean, you want to talk about people who couldn't be trusted. We were told over and over, the communists cannot be trusted. They can't be trusted. And Ronald Reagan made several different treaties with them. It's because the reality is you have to negotiate with your enemies, not with your friends. It'd be easy to negotiate with your friends. Hey, Anna, would you like a cupcake? Okay, great. Let's share cupcakes. That's easy, right? What's not easy is making a peace deal with people who are aligned against you. And that's the hard job at hand that people like Lindsey Graham are trying to scuttle.